I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Sermon Highlights. Today we're here with one of our own, Elder Wallace.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for being back here just to share the highlights, the main points about the message that you preached today. As we're in Black History Month, I realized you were talking about black men, and today I saw the men's chorale. You know, they sang up there, and they sound wonderful.
Yes, you all
yeah.
the way.
You know, as we celebrate Black history going through it. What I want you to do is just to give us the main points, the highlights of the message that you preached.
Okay, my message today, I basically had 3 points. The first point was that when we were captured, and I say captured in Africa, we were not stupid people that was just roaming around as common laborers. We had intellectuals, we had professors, we had professionals actually that were enslaved, because when they enslaved the people, I want you to just imagine that coming into a town and taking all of the people from 14 to 45, everybody. When you leave that town only with little children and grandparents. And they kept doing that in different parts. So the universities were dry. And as they came over here, they brought over here inventors, they brought over here engineers, they brought over here highly intelligent people and placed them to work in cotton fields and different places. However, the second point is that Christ actually interacted with the slaves whilst they were here, because they told us that the slaves back then were barbarians, which was not true. They told us that the slaves were not Christianized, which was not true. The slaves were Christians, and we saw Christianity in Africa in the 400s. And so we know that they worshipped Christ. Yes, they worshiped Mary, and yes, they had the crucifix all over the place, but they knew Christ. They also knew and had the book of Isaiah. So they understood religiosity, not the way we carry it around, but in their own way. The second thing is, when Christ came and joined with the slaves here, he took the slaves from seeing where they were and showing them where they are going. Hence, the slaves could sing the different songs that they sang. When they sang songs like "Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child, a Long Way from Home," they were talking about heaven. When they sang the song "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot," they were talking about heaven. When they sang the song "I'm going to lay down my burden by the riverside," they were talking about heaven. When they talk about Christ, they talk about Christ in a personal way because they knew Christ. Then I want us to also realize that the slaves will be in heaven, because the slaves understood Christ, they worshiped Christ, so they will be in heaven. However, between that, I want us to know that one of the other points, because we sometimes don't know about ourselves, and we don't know about our ancestors, and when we don't know about our ancestors, we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. Our ancestors were great inventors. Like I say today, our ancestor had invented the telephone around the same time William Graham Bell invented the telephone. His problem, our ancestor, the son of a slave's problem, is that he had no one to finance it and no one to actually give him a patent for it. We know that the son of slaves were the ones that made it possible that you can ride a train all through America without stopping for service, because he designed a system that would make the train could be serviced as it went along. We know our people invented so many different medical things. However, one of the things I wanted to point out is that we didn't get credit for a lot of things we invented because the slave owners took credit for it because we couldn't patent things. Hence, when we talk about the Whitney gin that separates the cotton from the cotton seeds, that was invented by a black slave, which gave birth to the engines that now fly supersonic jets. All of those were created by us. We were a proud people, we were an educated people, we were people who God had talked with, we had communion with God. Hence we were whole people. But even though we were enslaved, our mind was free. And our minds were free to go back to the time when we were inventors, so we invented. Our minds were free to go back to the time when we were educators, so we educated. Our minds were free when we went back to studying and learning. And if you realize that as soon as we got into something, we actually excel in it. And we excel in it because it wasn't new to us. It was something that was in our DNA.
Amen, amen, amen. Elder Wallace, I want to thank you for coming back here and for sharing with us those highlights, those main points of the sermon.
Sure,
thank you very much.
Thank you,
yes, sir.
And thanks for having me here too.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm getting ready.